Howdy folks, and welcome back to another Britgrid intermediate blender class. So without further ado, let's crack on with that, shall we? Right, before we get started, I just want to go through a couple of little setup things for you. So you just need to go into your edit menu, into preferences, and there's a couple of add-ons that you need to enable. So the first one, you can search for them, is called extra, and it's the add mesh extra objects. So you just need to put a tick in the box next to that to make sure that's enabled. The other one that we're going to have enabled is the node Wrangler. So you can just search for node and put a tick in the node Wrangler box and then save your preferences. So that's great. The next thing we need to do is I'm just going to go over to the properties panel and make sure that I'm using cycles, and I'm going to tell it to use my graphics card. Great. Let's get rid of the default cube. Oh, by the way, today we're making rocks, so that's fun. So, because we've added the extra mesh add-in, we can go to add, we can go to end mesh, and now you see that we've got a new option under mesh, a rock generator. So we're going to select that, and in object mode, keeping the object selected, you can click on the little panel down here, and it will give you some options we can apply. So you can set the number of rocks, so I'm just going to keep it at 1, and the scale, the X, Y and Z scale. There's also options for deformation and roughness and all that kind of good stuff. There's quite a nice one at the bottom as well, the presets. So you've got fake ocean, which generates that kind of effect. You've got ice. Bear in mind that you can kind of change these by using a random seed, and if you click on the number you'll find that you get a different rock produced. You can also do sandstone, which is rather nice. You can do an asteroid. This gives a rather freaky looking asteroid. Or I quite like the river rocks. River rocks are quite nice. And then there's just the default rock. So I think today I'll probably go with the default rock. So I'm just gonna accept that rock as is. I don't really feel like messing around with it much more. So I'm now going to go into edit mode. Don't worry, don't freak out if it looks a bit odd in edit mode. What we need to do now is just unwrap it. So I'm going to hit U and just choose unwrap. That's done. Now if we pop back into object mode, you'll see that it still looks fine. The reason that it looks different is because it's applying a whole load of modifiers to the rock. Anyway, let's make sure we've added the material. So I'm just going to go to the material panel, click on new, and that's fine. I've got a new material on it now. Now there's some brilliant rock textures that you can download from CC0 Textures and textures.com or cgtextures.com. I'll put the links in the description for the video so that you can download your own. Let's crack on. What I'm going to do now is I've already downloaded some of those rather nice textures. So I'm going to go into the shader editor. I'm just going to move that panel out of the way so we've got a little bit more room. I'm going to make that a little bit bigger. So we've got our principled BSDF shader here. I'm going to highlight it, and because we've enabled the node wrangler, if I press down on Control and Shift on my keyboard and then hit the T key and then go into my desktop, you can see I've got a Blender tutorial folder with some rock textures, and I happen to quite like the rock texture number 4, so I'm going to load these textures in and it will set them up automatically for us. Now the only ones we need are the diffuse texture, which is the colour. We also need the normal texture and the specular texture. So specular is how shiny or not shiny it is. Normal just perturbs, just alters the look of the thing, kind of like a bump map. And the diff is just the normal colour, the diffuse one. So we can click on the principled shader setup now, because we've shown it what textures we want to load in. And well, hey, there we go. It's loaded in all that stuff and set it up for us, which is pretty terrific, really. So now we can go over to the preview kind of rendered option and have a look at our rock. Doesn't look too bad, so I'm quite happy with that. So I'm just going to go back to our properties window, if I can find it. Properties. Oh yeah, before we close that, let's just take a minute to bear in mind which textures you're referencing. So you can see I've got Rock 05 diff, I've got Rock 05 spec for the specular, and I've got Rock 05 normal for the bump map, because you may need to upload those separately, we'll see, because I think it only uploads the diffuse texture by default. So now I'm just going to go back into the properties panel and I'm going to go to our modifiers. You can see that it's loaded, it's put in a load of modifiers for subdivision surface and displacement and goodness knows what else. So I'm going to apply all of those. I'm just going to start at the top. I think this generally works best. So just click the apply button, apply, 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 and you'll notice your rock hasn't changed, and that's because we've now applied all the modifiers to it. And if we want to have a look at our rock in edit mode, you can see that it's got quite a nice topology on it. It's not too meshy, it's quite meshy. If you wanted to, you could kind of use a modifier to which modifier is it? Let's have a look. You could use the it's probably, I can't find it now. It's probably the one that will deform it, and it's probably, no, it's not the deform mesh, the deform modifier. It is, well, the one that makes it have less faces. The decimate modifier. But I'm not going to apply that. I'm just going to export it. So I'm just going to go back into object mode, select my rock, and I'm going to say File, Export, Collada. I'm just going to select the static operator presets. I'm going to stick it on my desktop, and I've already made one rock, so I'm going to make another one. I'll call this new rock, and I'm just going to export it. Okay, and I'll stop the video there, and then I'll start it again when we pop in world, and I'll show you how to import that. So see you in a minute. Welcome back, folks. So here we are, back in the Blender class sim. So let's upload this rock, this new rock. So I'm going to upload mesh model, go into my desktop, choose a new rock and say open. Then I'm going to call it new rock, just so we don't get it confused with any other previous rocks. So let's go to the upload options and say we want the textures with it. And you can see it's found the diffuse texture, which is brilliant. So level of detail depends how you want to set that. Personally, I don't like rocks breaking down at kind of far distances of viewing, so I'm just going to use the level above for like the last couple of level of details. So I'm going to say calculate rates and fees. Hopefully it won't take too long to upload. If it does, I'll pause the video. Okie doke, so that's it uploading. I had mixed results with applying the specular and the normal maps to the rock, but I'll show you how we can do that. So let's res this rock in first. Let's just zoom in on it a little bit. So that's not a bad looking rock. Not too bad. We can make it a bit bigger if we wanted to. We want to stretch the textures if we do that. Let's make it a bit bigger so we can see what we're looking at. There we go. And I might just rotate it a bit. Ooh, if I can manage to do that. Floating rock at the moment. So now you can see if I go to texture, we haven't got any bumpiness or shininess on it. So I'm just going to go to build, upload, bulk, to upload our additional normal map and specular map. So I'm going to go into my Blender tutorial folder, rock textures, rock 4. So the only ones we need, in fact I've already done this but I'll do it again. So we need the normal map, and we also need the specular map, I believe. So we can say OK. And so that's uploaded them for us. So the normal map is actually the bumpiness one, and the specular is actually the shininess one. So we can drag those in, and well, there we have it really. There is our rock. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope it was fun, and I hope you can make use of that. So don't forget, tune in next week, like, subscribe, etc, etc, and take care, and I'll see you again next time. Bye for now.